All right, hello, and welcome to another episode of the I Don't Know Show. My name is Dante Maddox, and this is so this episode is not live. I'm recording, so there's going to be hopefully a smooth transition from segment to segment. I have a few things I want to kind of show you concerning this week. This episode is being recorded on April 13th, 2025, and will hopefully air in a couple of days after I have some chances to add a little music, put in a little intro, and so on and so forth. In the meantime, I want to play the first clip. Let's cycle through one more time.
They rob you blind and you thank them for it. That's a tragedy. That's a scam. That's why I'm saying this right now. Americans, you don't need a tariff. You need a revolution. For decades, your government and oligarchs only ship your job to China. Not for diplomacy, not for peace, but to exploit cheap laborers. And in the process, they hollowed out your middle class, crushed your working class, and told you to be proud while they sold your future for profit. And yes, China made money, but we used it to build roads, lift millions out of poverty, fund healthcare, raise living standard. We reinvested in our people. My family also benefited from it. What did your oligarchs do? They bought yachts, private jets, mansions with golf course driveways. They manipulate the market, dodged tax, and poured billions into endless wars. And you get stagnated wages, crippling healthcare costs, cheap dopamine, debt, and flag wave property made in China while they pick your pocket. For 40 years, both China and the United States benefit from the trade, the manufacturing, but only one of us use that wealth to build. This isn't China's fault. This is yours. You let this happen. You let the oligarchs fit your lies while they made you fat, poor, and addicted. Now they blame China for mess they made. I don't think so. I don't think you need another tariff. You need to wake up. You need to take your country back. I think you need a revolution.
Okay, so I agree with, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's kind of hard to say you disagree or agree. That is a pretty fair analysis of what is taking place. I think that the one thing most of us really could use is a bit more historical context. So I think your homework is to actually look up Richard Nixon, because in the very beginning of what he's saying, he's not talking about the last 20 years. He's talking about going back to the Nixon administration that began this relationship in terms of trade. Nixon opened the door to trade with China, and that's where the beginning of moving those jobs overseas began. In just the last week or so, we've had people talking about the tariffs that have been implemented on different levels. And one thing they keep talking about is that you can't use those tariffs to force jobs back to America without the necessary infrastructure to actually have those jobs there, right? Going back to the 70s, when Richard Nixon made these deals with China for all this trade and whatnot, to create the sweatshops, to create the foreign labor, and what he said, gutted the American middle class, China had to build the infrastructure necessary. They had to build the sweatshops, essentially. You know what I'm saying? And he's talking about things like our grandparents were supposed to wake up and talk to us about at the dinner table 20 and 30 and 40 years ago. The reason all of this is happening like this and it's been so bad is because that's how far afield we've been for that long. We've let this go on for literally that long.
The fact that the SAVE Act, a true voter suppression law, is easily making its way through Congress while the John Lewis Voting Rights Act is still collecting dust should tell you everything you need to know about the United States of America. See, let me break this down. Republicans in the House just passed the SAVE Act, a bill requiring documentary proof of citizenship, like a certified copy of your birth certificate or a passport to register to vote. Not because there's a problem. No, there's no problem. It's because they need a fake crisis to justify making it harder for black, brown, poor, and marginalized folks to vote. Meanwhile, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, a bill that would actually protect our right to vote, is still sitting in the graveyard of good intentions. And that's not by accident, guys. They're not protecting democracy. They're protecting power. White political power, Republican power, the kind that's terrified of an electorate that actually looks like America. See, America has never had a voter fraud problem, but it sure does have a voter suppression addiction. And this is their latest fix. So don't let the patriotic name fool you. The SAVE Act is voter suppression in red, white, and blue. And if you're not angry yet, you simply are not paying attention. Because if they take your vote today, they'll take your voice tomorrow.
I'm hoping that I'm not getting reverb because my mic is, it's a pretty nice mic. So I think that's the through line that might be the overall theme of this episode. And the thing that concerns me as one individual citizen the most is, in case you haven't noticed, America doesn't fix what it breaks. I think that right there is always going to be how we get to now and whatever now is. America doesn't fix what it breaks. When you look up atrocities like the massacres, you look up things like the Homesteaders Act, redlining, gerrymandering. She's talking about legislation right now that is just as aggressive in terms of voter suppression and attacking women and minorities. In 2025, we got like that because they've never suffered a penalty for doing that in the past. We have never come back and make that right, ever. And after a while, that seems to snowball. Because when you do that, people notice that you don't ever fix it. We're talking about reparations still and stuff like that. The Homesteaders Act was devastating to black communities for generations, and they never recovered. And America never came to terms. And refusing to fix it, refusing to address it, eventually you're going to get a Nick Fuentes. Eventually you're going to get a Tucker Carlson who's going to watch as America never comes to terms with their mistakes, never says they're sorry, never tries to make it right. Eventually someone like Nick Fuentes is going to see that and get that weird, stupid smirk on their face and say, what are you talking about? I don't know what the problem is. Because America has made it clear that they were never going to fix it. And that is my biggest concern right now. We're talking about all the stuff that Donald Trump is doing right now. We're not going to fix that stuff. He is reshaping our international relationships. Right now in the news, we're finding out that China is making different deals with different countries, including Brazil and so forth. Those deals are literal signed promises to last for set amounts of years. They're not going to just suddenly void all those new negotiations and alliances they've made because in 4 years we have another president in office and he's nice. That's not how that works. Whatever we screwed up here, whatever got messed up is going to stay that way. Whatever relationships we fucked up are going to stay that way. And we are historically bad at not fixing anything. Thank you for checking out the episode this far. Please leave a like if you dig what I'm doing, or at least you feel like you might want to say something back, or take my one person's opinion and talk to someone else about it. Hopefully all the graphical stuff will look nice when we're all said and done. And we're going to move into my final thoughts for the week. So my final thoughts is basically, like I said before, everything we're seeing now is because of a snowball effect of inactivity on all sides. America never fixes what it breaks. And we have all been complicit in that. My biggest takeaway from all of this is I really want people to realize that this is what it looks like when one small group declares a culture war on another. It doesn't matter if the group that's been declared war on responds. It doesn't matter if they agree. It doesn't matter if they fight back. That's never been how war works. All a war takes is for one side to declare it, and the other side, they're just in a war now. A long time ago, white supremacists declared a cultural war on black people. And black people didn't fight back. Black people didn't declare war back. Black people didn't organize in a way that would suggest we were fighting a cultural war back. This is it. This is what it looks like when white supremacists fight a cultural war against a target of people who aren't organized to fight back like that. We're not a hegemonic force. We're not a monolith. We don't do the things that would suggest that we're going to fight a cultural war. And we are one of the few cultures who doesn't fight like that. We're one of the few cultures that doesn't circle the wagons. Like we're seriously not on the same page for most stuff. And that's how we get undone. Remember in the 90s when hip hop was all mad at C. Dolores Tucker? We forget about that kind of stuff. But we were in the middle of that. That wasn't cut and dry. The whole Super Predator thing had a lot of black churches who were on Hillary Clinton's side and Joe Biden's side. That wasn't just some old white guy doing the dirt. That we were all complicit in a lot of that stuff. We have never been organized to fight a cultural war because we just want to live in peace. Like, it's a sign of our civility. It's a sign of our a desire to get along and be cool. It's noble. It's admirable. But it's also getting our ass whooped. Shot dead in the streets and worse. Like, people like America First have declared a cultural war against us. And they are serious. They're organized. It's intentional. So everything we do in an effort to just live in peace gets turned around and we get beat with it. Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization because there's a cultural war being fought against black people. You have anti-woke policies, anti-DEI policies. That is what it looks like when one group is fighting a cultural war against another, and that other group is just trying to live their daily lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the issue. At this point, the only way out is through. I think we should talk more about what the community needs to do and be more aware that there is a deliberate effort to destroy us. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that we're in this cultural war means that we should be more cognizant of our behavior, more aware of the people who do and say things on our behalf, our leadership. Like that's what I mean by they have a rank and file system of that they do. They knock it out. They're determined. They form organizations. They get involved in politics. It is a deliberate message that they dog whistle. They have TV stations and talking heads. They are serious business, and BET is not the answer. That's not the agenda doesn't exist of an attempt to root out or destroy. That's what I mean by it's a one-sided cultural war. One group declared it, and the other group, we're just hanging on for dear life. And I don't know what we're supposed to do about it, but I think we should talk about it at least and admit that that's what's happening. Yeah, that's what I want to say this week. So take care of yourselves. Hang in there. I'll see you soon.